to Durbania, I'm Durbin, and having seen Logan this weekend, I have now seen the 10 X-Men movies that have been released to date. So my next step is to do what any self-respecting movie review YouTuber would do in that situation, and that is rank all 10 X-Men movies. So here is my personal ranking of the 10 X-Men movies to date. Number 10 for me is X-Men: The Last Stand. For me, there's just no beating around the bush. When it comes to that third X-Men movie in that original X-Men trilogy, I just did not like this movie. And let me just tell you that I never really had exposure to X-Men growing up. Didn't read an X-Men comic, never watched X-Men the animated series. I was obsessed with Batman the animated series, that's why. And so never watched that one. So these original trilogy movies were my first exposure to X-Men. And even that being the case, I didn't know much about the Cure to the Mutant Gene storyline. I knew nothing whatsoever about the Phoenix. But watching this movie, them trying to shove in the Phoenix Saga, them trying to shove in the cure for the mutant gene, and Magneto with his plan to destroy all humans and the mutants all live, trying to throw all of that stuff together, that movie felt so crowded and overstuffed. I would have rather seen a Phoenix movie. I would have rather seen a movie about the cure, or I would have rather seen another movie about Magneto's plan to destroy all humans. But to throw all of these things together, it just was too much. I felt like the movie was too cluttered. And there were so many interesting things. There were things that could have been more interesting had they spent more time on it. But it was difficult. I just felt like it was kind of unfocused. I really didn't like this movie, so that's why it's my number 10. It was just my least favorite. It felt very unfocused, and it felt like it was jam-packed with way too much stuff. Number 9 on my list is X-Men Origins Wolverine. I really wanted to like this movie, and the reason this lands on my number 9 is mostly because of my sheer disappointment with the movie. I don't feel like I hate this movie by any means. There's a lot of great stuff in it. I mean, first off, Hugh Jackman, no matter how up and down this series has been, because this series has had good entries to the franchise, it's had bad entries to the franchise. But no matter what entries to the franchise, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine has been consistently awesome. So watching this Wolverine Origins movie, yeah, he was awesome. Watching him and Sabretooth be brothers, that was awesome. The opening montage of him going through all the wars, awesome. So there were a lot of awesome things when it comes to the X-Men Origins Wolverine movie. But I had expectations so high because I really enjoyed the trailers. When I went and saw this movie, it just fell flat. And you know, there's some things I didn't know at the time. For instance, Deadpool. I knew nothing of Deadpool when I went to see this movie. But I do know that I was disappointed in how that character turned out. Like that last and final fight, it was like, okay, I mean, the choreography's kind of cool, but there's something about it that's disappointing. I see the Deadpool movie and I'm like, oh, that's it. Because I liked Ryan Reynolds' character before his mouth was sewed shut. He was a cool character. Then they sew his mouth shut and it's just not as awesome. So, I mean, that's one reason it fell flat to me, and I don't know. I'm kind of hard-pressed to come up with some other reasons, but you know what I'm saying when you watch a movie and you just get that overall feeling of, this could be better than what it is, and it's just not reaching that point. That's how I felt about that Wolverine Origins movie. My number 8 on the list is the original X-Men movie. I know I put it as my third to least favorite, but hear me out on this one. Again, my first exposure to X-Men, and I'll give praise to this movie where praise is due. It really isn't a bad movie. It was a movie that showed if you take these characters seriously and have fun with them, but in a way where you're not making fun of them, but you're making a good movie with them, it's gonna change things. And I think this movie really did open the door for the superhero movies that we see now, and it was, in a lot of those ways, that was good. So credit where credit is due. But I was a teenager when I saw this movie when it first came out. It was my first exposure ever to X-Men. And I don't want to say it was lackluster. My feeling watching this movie as a teenager was, yeah, that's okay. That was my feeling. And honestly, that feeling has kind of stuck with me. Especially when I get to the other X-Men movies on my list that I really enjoyed more, that I felt deepened the whole saga, that I felt deepened the characters, that I felt deepened the overall story and attached me more to it. So, I don't know. I don't hate the original X-Men, but it's at my number 8 because of that feeling I had when I was a teenager. It's at my number 8 because, even objectively for me, as I look at the other lists, so many of these other movies, I just enjoyed a lot more. Number 7 on my list, The Wolverine, the second solo Wolverine movie, I enjoyed so much better than the first. I actually really genuinely enjoyed the story in this one. You had a villain that believed that life without end was the only life with meaning. Wolverine, who was still sad that he had to kill Jean in X-Men 3. You had the girl that he kind of has a romantic thing with in this movie, who is just so upset with all the family stuff going on, her getting this company that she never really wanted, her father's anger with her that he got skipped over for having the company. So all of that kind of stuff is going on as she wants to be gone, Wolverine wants to be gone, the bad guy's the one who wants to live forever. But the movie's then about them finding purpose. It's about finding their way in life. And I really like so much of it. Plus, when you get to the end of that movie, the girl that Wolverine kind of has a romantic thing with, she's like locked in a tower and he's fighting through a whole bunch of ninjas to get to the tower. It had that knight in shining armor coming to save the princess and the tower feel to it. And, you know, the knight coming and he's going to fight the dragon. He's going to slay the dragon. Just that scene had that feel to it to me. And I really enjoyed that. And if you watch the director's cut, that scene is so much longer and it's definitely R-rated, man. There's so much extra stuff in that scene that is just so epic. So there's a lot of things to this story that I really enjoyed that deepened the character for me, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I thought this movie is a fantastic follow-up to X-Men 3, following Wolverine just feeling so down about Jean. So there was like a lot of things that were really compelling to me in this, especially his haunting dreams of Jean saying, "Can you stay?" and him wanting to just die and be with her in the afterlife. Like, it was just so fascinating to me. Number 6 on my list, X2, X-Men United. This one was my favorite of the original X-Men trilogy to this day. It's just a fun movie that I can watch and really enjoy. I love it how we meet Riker, who made Wolverine who he is in this movie. I love that the background was kind of mysterious and we get flashbacks throughout the movie of him being in that tank getting filled with animanium, the claws, and him coming out of the water. There was just so much in that X2 movie that I did enjoy. I thought it was a great movie. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the action. It was just good. X2 was a good movie. So that one falls at my number 6 on my list. Number 5 on my list, X-Men Apocalypse. It's interesting because I had a lot of fun with this movie this last summer. And then as I see other people's reviews and how they talk about it on YouTube, it seems a ton of people did not like this movie. I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest movie, and I think of the trilogy of the young cast, it's probably the weakest link, but even saying that, it doesn't take away the fun that that movie was for me. There were a lot of things in this movie that I really enjoyed. There were some great emotional moments, like when you have Magneto in the woods, and he loses his wife and his daughter, and he sends the locket and sends it flying through the necks of those cops and stuff like that, and he rails at this guy, "Is this what I am?" Oh, I love emotional scenes like that. And then when Apocalypse takes him to the concentration camp and he starts to dig deep into the earth for the first time and you see that huge magnetic field, the emotion in that scene, all of it was just so good to me. I love moments like that, and this movie to me had great moments like that. Another great moment is where Charles is inside Apocalypse's head fighting him, but he's losing the fight now. So he asks Jean for help, and then Jean shows up into Apocalypse's head, and Charles is just like, "Let go, Jean, let go! Jean, let go!" And then the Phoenix, and I get goosebumps, okay? Scenes like that are awesome. Plus the fun scenes with Quicksilver when he's getting everybody out of the exploding mansion. There were so many great moments in X-Men Apocalypse that I really enjoyed. So that one is at my number 5. Number 4 for me is Deadpool. Deadpool was a fantastic movie. I enjoyed that movie so much. It was so, like, in some ways lighthearted. Other ways, it was kind of heavy because, you know, it's Deadpool cutting people to pieces. But it was so funny. Ryan Reynolds was born for that part. I mean, just the way he portrayed it, I had no experience with Deadpool. This was my first real experience with Deadpool other than, like, you know, the Lego Avengers game where Deadpool shows up and it's kind of funny in that one. This is my first real exposure to Deadpool. I don't know. Even not knowing too much about Deadpool and his character, I can just feel that movie, they nailed it. They nailed everything about it. They nailed the personality. They nailed the tone. They nailed the fourth wall breaking. It was such a great movie. I just found myself having so much fun with that one. So that's why that one hits in my top 4 and is my number 4, because that one will always just be an amazing standout movie to me, and I'm just so glad they went back and they redid that character. I'm excited for Deadpool 2. I hope it lives up, and I really think it will. From seeing that trailer in front of Logan, I really think that movie will live up, and it looks fantastic. So, my number 3, X-Men First Class. Oh, I love that movie. First Class was just so fantastic. I think it was the first X-Men movie I saw on the big screen that I walked out going, wow, I just really, really like that movie. Yeah, there are some things that feels like it breaks continuity for me. Because, like, for instance, in X-Men The Last Stand, Charles and Magneto, they're walking together. And Charles gets paralyzed at the end of X-Men First Class. Now, you find out in Days of Future Past, you know, from his meds, he can walk, but he loses his abilities. But then in The Last Stand, he has his abilities and he's walking. So, I don't know. There's some questions there, but I think there might be some room for creative interpretation there. But whatever. The point is even with some of those continuity things like that kind of stood out to me, it didn't matter. I just enjoyed the characterizations of these young characters. I enjoyed watching Professor X and Magneto meet and become who they are. I enjoyed seeing their origins. I enjoyed seeing this team come together. I enjoyed meeting Moira and seeing who she was. I enjoyed the action sequences of this movie. I enjoyed the heart of this movie. I enjoyed the chemistry between the actors and the characters in this movie. So much of First Class was done so right. That's why it's my number 3. Number 2, X-Men Days of Future Past. First Class was my favorite, and then Days of Future Past came out. Oh my gosh, I like that movie. Such an amazing way to combine the original cast that we have known and loved and grown up with, and combining it with the new cast that they were kind of raising up for, like, the, you know, new generation and exploring the past of X-Men. It was amazing the way they combined it, and what a fantastic way to do a soft reboot of things. I mean, I'm still kind of confused. Did X-Men 1 happen? Did X-Men 2 happen? Clearly, a lot of X-Men 3 did not happen because we see Jean and Scott are now alive. So I kind of want to know how much of X-Men 1 and X2 actually occurred in this new timeline since what they changed in Days of Future Past. So Apocalypse didn't really answer that because, you know, it's a whole decade or two before those original X-Men movies even take place. But still, Days of Future Past was so fun. Again, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, amazing characterization. To bring Wolverine and combine him with this new, younger cast was just a really fun thing to see, to watch him meet these people, to interact with these people, to sit there with Charles and say, remember these names, Jean, Scott, bring the X-Men together. Like, powerful moments like that. I love the moment where young Charles and old Charles have that amazing conversation. That scene was so well done. The dialogue so well written. The chemistry between those actors so good. And it was so amazing the way that they portrayed that, the way that they did that, the way that they brought it together, the way Charles got his confidence back by seeing himself in the future. There was just... I enjoyed watching this whole movie hinge on Mystique and hinge on her decision. Is she going to be Charles's Raven? Is she going to be Magneto's Mystique? Or is she going to be who she was created to be? Fascinating. I really enjoyed that. There were so many things about it that were so good. My number 1, Logan. I know it just came out, and I don't even care if it's cliche at this point for me to say that that is my favorite X-Men movie because it just came out and people are loving it all over the place. I don't care. That movie was fantastic. Everything about it was awesome. You want to see me go into detail about it? I have 2 reviews of Logan up. 1 spoiler talk, 1 spoiler free. You can check those both out. What I will say, just loved it. I loved the raw emotion of the movie. And I feel like it's done in a way you don't have to see all these other X-Men movies. You can just go see Logan and you're in it. I mean, they just attach you to these characters right off the bat. So much of that movie was just done so right. I really, truly enjoyed Logan. And I think of all the X-Men movies that I've seen to date, it is my number 1 most favorite of the X-Men movies. I am anxious to hear your top 10 X-Men list. How would you rank all the 10 X-Men movies that have been released? Be sure to let me know in the comments. While you're there, hit the subscribe button and become a Durbanian. Next to the subscribe button, there's a bell. Click that bell. Be notified the moment I drop a new video. Please like and share this video. And I have tons of other great movie reviews, great other videos that I like to produce, reading way too much intos, Durbin experiences, and other really cool things that I love to do on this channel. So please check out those other videos. I'm Durbin. Thank you for checking out Durbania.